In this WrestleTalk news, Hikaru Shida is upset with AEW, Ric Flair is training for an in-ring return, my review of SmackDown, and more. Subscribe and enable notifications to always on for daily wrestling news videos.
Support WrestleTalk!
Earlier this week in the WrestleTalk news, I mentioned that Hikaru Shida had been pulled from the Owen Hart Cup tournament as she had picked up an injury during her Philly street fight against Serena Deeb and wished her well in her recovery. Well, don't I look foolish now, because it turns out she's not injured at all. When the injury announcement came on last night's episode of Rampage, Hikaru Shida took to Twitter just to say, "What?" seemingly to indicate she was not aware of the injury explanation as to why she was not in the Owen Hart tournament. She followed this up by saying, "Well, I already had 4 matches after the street fight and just finished the greatest fighting musical show, but I seem to have been injured. Japanese wrestling is nothing for them. I'm so sorry, and sorry I couldn't be in the tournament too." Taking a more positive stance, Shida then tweeted, "I'm glad from my heart that Chris is in the tournament now, and I'm gonna try to enjoy sudden holidays in Japan because it's been a while before I had one. Be positive." And then just this morning, UK time, Shida tweeted once more in an attempt to explain the situation a bit more. "After my Philadelphia street fight, a doctor check from AEW was required to participate in the Owen Hart Cup, and I couldn't re-enter the country in time. I'm so sorry to disappoint everyone. These difficulties sometimes happen with international talents. I feel healthy and never stop trying to improve. Please cheer for Chris while I do my best in Japan. Holy Shida will be back soon." So while Shida wasn't actually injured, it seems that AEW used the injury angle to cover the fact that Shida hadn't been medically cleared since the street fight and couldn't be back in the States in time for her check. Still though, it seems Shida wasn't informed about the angle prior to it airing, which you'd think she might have been. Someone else we might be seeing in a ring again is 73-year-old Ric Flair, who according to Dave Meltzer is reportedly training for an in-ring return for the first time since 2011, back when he was a spry 62! Flair has recently posted training videos with Jay Lethal on social media, so this return was hardly a secret, but I wonder where the return would be. Now, I've been told I should include my opinion less in these news pieces, so I won't say how I feel about Flair's in-ring return. Continuing that facial expression, let's talk about Alberto Del Rio. According to Wrestling Inc., there was an incident at a recent KAOZ Lucha Libre wrestling event where Alberto reportedly showed up 2 hours late to the show, to which the promoter of the show then barred him entry to the locker room. Alberto, along with his brother El Hijo de Dos Caras, then reportedly caused a scene and forced entry into the locker room. And after all the drama, Alberto ended up wrestling on the show as planned. Del Rio, now going by Alberto El Patron, was recently pulled from a Triple Mania event as well, yet another mark against the controversial figure. And now it's time for my review of SmackDown in about 5 minutes. Thank you for being awesome pledge hammers on our Patreon page, Barbaric Garrick Morgan, and he can last Sean Fur longer than you in the ring. You can get your own shoutout and loads of extra bonus content by visiting us at patreon.com/WrestleTalk. We started this show with a recap of the 6-man tag match from WrestleMania Backlash, which almost made it look like that match had some stakes, before RK Bro came out to issue the challenge to the Usos for a tag title unification match. But they realized that Reigns is really the one who makes the shots around here, so come on out, Reigns! But Sami Zayn was the one who answered, complete with a Bloodline t-shirt, which is just a wonderful little touch. Sami calls himself the locker room leader, and Orton strokes his ego, saying he's not like the Usos, he's a shot caller, he makes things happen, and because he has that power, he should make the match right now for Riddle versus Sami, and if Riddle wins, they get their tag title unification match. Sami accepts, but says, not tonight. But here comes Adam Pearce with his mysterious general manager, not a general manager powers, and he makes the match official right now, but with no added stipulation for the tag title unification match. What followed was a corker of an opener between Riddle and Zayn, with them being given time, a ton of near falls, and some really exciting action. Riddle got the win with the Bro Derek in the end, which gives him a much needed win after WrestleMania Backlash. Backstage, Shinsuke Nakamura then said that if Roman is the head of the table, Sami's just the table's ass. I'm honestly glad this feud is still continuing, and honestly, Sami might be the most interesting and fun character on SmackDown right now. After a quick note about how Rousey broke Flair's arm at Backlash and made her say I quit, we then got a video recap of how Rousey broke Flair's arm at Backlash and made her say I quit. fun. Rousey came out and cut a quick promo saying she's going to be a fighting champion and issued an open challenge, which was answered by Raquel Rodriguez, which was a pleasant surprise. And continuing the pleasant surprises was the booking of this match, where Rodriguez got in a ton of offense, countered a bunch of stuff from Rousey, and looked really good, despite Rousey getting a roll-up victory in the end. The justification of Rousey not being fully recovered from her brutal I Quit match made sense to me, and I like that it gave Raquel enough of a window to exert her will over her in this match, but Rousey was just resourceful enough to eke out a win. Very good stuff all round. The two shook hands after the match, and it made Raquel feel like a future women's champion. Nice. Aaliyah and Shotzi were upset they didn't get out to the ring on time for their title shot. I'm sure you would have done well if the Beat the Clock I Quit matches were anything to go by. Madcap Moss is still insufferable. He said he wants to change title belts to title suspenders. No. Don't do that. And because we can't have any nice things, Happy Corbin attacked Moss because this feud must continue. And of course, this was completely pedestrian with nothing exciting at all. And oh my god, Corbin just dropped the Andre the Giant trophy onto a chair on Moss's neck. That is genuinely a really great spot. Just a shame it comes in a feud that I could not care less about. Moss is stretchered out, and right before he's put into an ambulance, Corbin jokes that the place they're taking him is the Mosspital. I think you'll find it's actually a local Mossicle facility, Corbin. Banks and Naomi successfully defended their women's tag team titles against Shayna Baszler and Natalya next in a decent little match that didn't really have anything special per se, but it was fun for what it was. The pacing felt good and the match flowed nicely, so it was good. Backstage, Ricochet advised Drew Gulak that the only person that can change his outlook is him. And Gulak told himself that he's not gonna let Walter chop him down to size. Next time he sees him, he's gonna tell him what's what. So he goes around the corner, immediately runs into Walter, who rips off Gulak's t-shirt and chops the ever-loving out of him. This was wonderful. Then we got Kofi Kingston versus Butch. Along with Sheamus, that makes 3 wrestlers on this show wearing suspenders. How is that an actual statistic? This match was mostly fine, and Butch got the win with the bitter end before he ran away into the crowd, and then came back and celebrated with Sheamus and Holland? But like, why? Hang on. I need a second. Just hold on. Hold the on. What is Butch? What is he doing? You know, like, he's going through the crowd, the whole "where is Butch" thing. And then he went through the crowd again after he won. But then he came back, and then he celebrated with Sheamus and Ridge Holland. And I just don't understand any of it. I don't understand his character. I don't understand his motivations. I don't know who or what he is supposed to be. And that is an issue. Also in this segment, Pat McAfee was the worst. Screaming out "where is Butch" when he's in the match. We know where he is. After Butch hits the bitter end, Pat McAfee says, "What was that?" It's the bitter end, Pat. Everyone knows that. He was in your crew in NXT. You know what the bitter end is, Pat. The show ended with the Bloodline coming out to answer RK Bro's challenge, which Roman allowed the Usos to answer themselves for once. They accepted the challenge for the title unification match, which will happen on next week's SmackDown. Wait, hold on, hold the on. Roman ripped up the contract for the title unification match, presumably because he didn't want it. Instead, they had a 6-man tag, and now Roman is happy for the Usos to accept the challenge, and it's gonna happen on next week's SmackDown. But why? Why should I be expected to believe that the match is actually going to happen when it didn't before? How do I know the match will actually happen and won't end in some screwy finish or a DQ to maintain the status quo? I don't, is the actual answer. And while this could be fun if it actually happens, I have no reason to believe it will. So that was the show, and once again, it was significantly better than SmackDown has been in recent months. Probably the best SmackDown of the year, though that is a low bar to overcome. High 3 out of 5? Low 4? Somewhere in that region. There's once again no Rampage review from Tempest today, but on the WrestleTalk podcast channel later, it will be me and Angela from Hobby Nights talking about SmackDown and Rampage in full, so subscribe over there to be notified when we go live. Now check out yesterday's news, in case you missed it, about MJF potentially leaving AEW.
This WrestleTalk news is MJF frustrated with AEW and leaning towards leaving, the reason WWE are happy with Roman Reigns having a part-time schedule, and so much more. So subscribe and enable notifications to always on for daily wrestling news videos.